Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Fix YouTube channel and to another daily price change video. Today I'm coming to you again live on another live stream, so let me know how you're finding them. Are you enjoying the live format a bit more? And if you're watching back, let us know. Does it provide you with just as much value? We will be able to have a bit of a blend if you fancy that, or if so, if you prefer one or the other. Tell us whether you prefer the live format videos where you can get your questions in and answered as well in the live Q&A, or whether you'd rather have them pre-recorded with perhaps a bit more depth on the stats and figures instead of just it being more off the cuff. But today we're going to be focusing quite a bit on Calvert-Lewin and what to do with him, and more particular, actually covering that DCL topic. FPL Raptor or Ross did a fantastic video earlier on the transfer targets to replace Antonio and DCL with strikers at every kind of price point, apart from Ronaldo and Lukaku. The obvious one is he compared a lot of forwards and an absolutely fantastic watch, so you can go and check out that video on the channel as well. But without further ado, let's move in to today's daily price changes and see which players are going up, which players are going down, and perhaps what we should do with those who are making a move in price tonight. So here we are, live in the Fix studio, and I'm hoping it's all still working. But yeah, we're currently looking at the players that I think are the standouts to actually change in price relatively soon, so either tonight or tomorrow. And I've gone through and selected the ones that are most noticeable, I suppose, in an FPL sense. Of course, Kovacic really shouldn't be in there. I just put him in because I thought it was absolutely wild how many people are bringing in Kovacic, of course. But the second one down here is Shane Duffy, and Duffy is a very interesting one. Of course, he's already risen twice in price since he's been the starting centre-back for Brighton since the start of the season, which wasn't going to be the case as far as I could make out in pre-season, but with injuries and whatnot, Duffy earned his place back next to Dunk, and he's performed very well, and he's got, obviously big hauls, and hopefully he can continue in that team for a while longer, as he's currently still in my FPL squad. But yeah, rising up to 4.3 will be another bit of nice value gain, potentially, if he can rise again for some owners, perhaps before he loses out that space in that place in the starting 11. But his ownership is up at 18.4% now, which is very, very high. And yeah, Sanchez's counterpart in goal for Brighton, also looking to be on the cusp of a price rise. So currently at 4.5, obviously 25% own for the Brighton keeper, who's been ticking around just a 6-2 kind of format. But he's getting the clean sheets, and that's what you want from a 4.5 keeper. You want them to steadily, and not always, but a lot of the time, try and have the best chance of grabbing you that clean sheet. And Ryan, I keep calling him Matt Ryan. Sanchez has certainly delivered on that front for Brighton so far this season. You have to say that owners can't be too displeased with how he's been performing. Hidden here fourth is a very interesting one, and it's Saint Maximan. And it's a player who's not been considered much as an Antonio or DCL replacement, but will be an interesting talking point. And he looks set to rise in price tonight. At the current rate, he's rising at 0.6% per hour. Obviously assisted that Menkio goal at Old Trafford at the weekend. And so he looks to be rising. Obviously, he's never really been in consideration this year, as really he's much more of a midfielder out of position at attack in game. And so he's not really that suited for FPL. If he was listed as a midfielder, yes, obviously. But with forwards, obviously we know they don't get that clean sheet point, and they also don't get the extra point for a goal that midfielders get. 5 on midfielders' parts to 4 in terms of forwards when they get the points. So yeah, we've got a few more players to get through, but I'm interested to see what your guys' opinions are and get over to what you guys are thinking and all your questions. So yeah, it's great to see some people in the chat, some familiar faces, and yeah, thank you and welcome to everyone tuning in, especially those from over on my channel as well. I know I put a few things out in the Discord and over on Twitter, so thank you to all of those who have made the trip and are continuing to support all my work. Jack here asks, I might take out Tony for Bamford, and currently that's my game week plan as well, if you saw my team selection video earlier today. But yeah, it sounds like a good plan. Tony still hasn't made that drop yet, so if you're going to do it and you're concerned about team value, tonight will be the time. But personally, with enough in the bank for me, I might be waiting out and just holding off and, taking the 0.1 hit essentially, just to make sure and ensure that, Bamford's not injured like the rumours were a bit yesterday. Owen asks, should I take a -4 for Ben Rama to Rafinha? It's a very tough question to answer. I mean, obviously, when I've been asked this question, I've often said that it depends on the depends on how long your perspective and you're projected to keep that player for. For example, Rafinha has some very, very nice games for up until around game week 10. So if you're prepared to hold him out until that run, I'm sure he will outscore Benrahma by more than 4 points. However, if you're going for like a 1 or 2 week punt, you've obviously got less time to make that money back. For example, if you've still got your wild card remaining and you're looking to use it around that game week 7 point, as a lot of players are. So yeah, I say it was depend, but I think it's probably a risk worth taking in my opinion if you can afford it. Eden also says, Dan, evening to you as well. Same for you, Zodiac. Abel says, good evening to you, my friend. And who's the best 4.5 midfield option in my opinion? It is going to be Sissoko of Watford would be the one I would be going for. But yeah, let's touch on a few more of these players. Obviously, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Ronaldo are two who are getting, again, close to a price rise. Ronaldo still rising at a very, very high rate, 2.1% per hour. Absolutely incredible. I'm sure his ownership will be up near the 50% mark, at least at some point during this season. And Alexander-Arnold at 34% after another 12-point haul at the weekend for the Englishman. A fantastic return once again for him, and he's losing at 0.5% per hour with 7.5 in price at the moment, up to 7.6 does not look beyond the realms of possibility before game week 5. And then we've got a few players who last night were also predicted and are then again looking to perhaps drop in price tonight. So yeah, Tony, Wilson, these forwards who are either not performing very well at all in Tony's case, or injured and out in Wilson's case, despite having some pretty nice fixtures up next. And I suppose that's why a lot of people are jumping on St. Maximin. It is a real shame, perhaps, that Wilson is out, or I'm sure a lot of people will be making the switch from Calvert-Lewin or Antonio over to Callum Wilson. And then Tsimikas, of course, is being sacrificed by a lot of managers, realising he's no longer in the team. Liverpool, perhaps some people were late to realise that Robertson was back, etc. A lot of casual players seeing his high points and bringing him in, despite the fact he wasn't going to be in the starting 11 for much longer. And yeah, Tsimikas really is done as an FPL option now. It's no surprise that he's looking on the verge of another drop, as his ownership really did skyrocket during those first few game weeks. And last but not least, what the main topic of the video was going to be, and what was most noticeable, I think, is the price drop of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, especially for those who have had him since 8.0, as he will now be able to, you now only be able to sell him for 8.0 if he drops to 9. For example, we know with FPL price changes, if you gain 0.2 in value on that player, so the player you started with, Calvert-Lewin is a great example, he started at 8.0, every 0.2 he goes up, you gain 0.1 when you sell him. So when Calvert-Lewin's at 8.2, which he has been for a while, you'll be able to sell him for 8.1 in that current state. However, as soon as he drops back down to 8.1, you lose that 0.2. He's only now risen in a net value, net rise of 0.1, and so you won't get any value on that because he's risen in an odd number, so to speak, or whatever. But yeah, I always do a pretty bad job of explaining price changes and value gained, etc. But yeah. Do you think Antonio will drop in price before we get news on the Bamford injury in the presses? Well, Antonio is an interesting one. I will go and quickly just double check on... Oh no, hang on, I need to refresh me page. Let's have a look. Antonio. So, minus 0.8% per hour. Progress is minus 63%. So, an interesting one really. Obviously, Antonio is another one who a lot of people have gained quite a bit of value on. I'm not sure that that's going to mean he'll drop. If I can't do the maths correctly, but it says more than 2 days. Obviously, we don't know how much longer specifically that's going to be, but I don't think he's going to drop. I don't think that will be enough in 24 hours, etc. Or what is it going to be? 48 hours around that since the deadline, until the deadline. But I'm not sure. I don't think he will, and especially with his transfers, will probably slow down towards then as well. But even if they're big even if his transfers out are high on a Friday, obviously that won't affect it because you'll be taking him out before the deadline, before Saturday this week. Varun May, I never hated on Marcel. You're chatting absolute waffle. I said Marcel was a great option, and then he went and got 2 assists. I'm not sure even you know what you're talking about, because you've not got right what Marcel... Oh, there you go. I never hated on Marcel, and I said he was a good option. I said he was injury prone, but yeah. I will just be timing out that nonsense because you're not just spreading hate, but you're also spreading lies because that's just completely false, to be honest. I said he was injury prone, and I stand by that. He's had a lot of injuries in his career, and he could still get injured. One good points haul doesn't make him not injury prone, but he's still a good option, and he's obviously very cheap and good value. A -4 next week for Jota and CR7 instead of Bruno and DCL. Thoughts? Already have Lukaku. I like the sound of that, Abel. Bamford only has 0.51 expected goals per 90 and usually underperforms his stats. Is he worth it at 8 mil? I think obviously with Bamford's case, his stats aren't particularly great this year, as you pointed out, and it's a very good point. With Bamford, a lot of people are hoping that in his case the fixtures really do breed his form, and we know from last year he can have that form. Whether Leeds can pick up their form as a team is yet to wait and see, I suppose. So a lot of people are kind of just gambling on that and riding the odds. Who is the best midfield option in the range of 6 million? I still think it's either Sarr or Damari Gray. Play 3-5-2 with Basuma in midfield or 4-4-2 bringing in Duffy. I personally would play Duffy and take my chances this week. Is anything happening with Livramento? We'll have a check for you, mate, but I don't think so. Anything substantial. He's only rising at 0.3% per hour, so no, he's not close to it price rise, and it doesn't look like he'll go up before the deadline. So yeah, not too much to worry about there. Gray, Decore, Gallagher. Who do you think is the best midfield option? So this is a very tough one to say. I think I really like Gallagher as an option, and his stats back that up. However, his fixtures seem a bit tough, especially with a lot of people wildcarding in the next few game weeks or so. The Everton fixtures look very tasty up until then. Whether you go for Gray or Decore is very, very close. I personally would go for Gray, but Decore could outscore him, as we've seen. He got 2 assists in Everton's last game, and he could easily outscore him again. Who's the best 3 subs for DCL in your opinion? You have to go and watch FPL Raptors' video. He does a fantastic breakdown, and he makes it a very compelling argument for a lot of players. If I had to rank my 3, it would probably be Bamford, Jimenez, and then the third one is really up for grabs. I'm really not too sure. I would maybe even be on the verge of saying St. Maximin. Thank you, Abel, for that. Player 3, we've already answered that one. Jack, hello from Florida. Hello, Ricardo. Good to see you. Good to see some people watching from across the pond. Who to captain this game week, Salah or CR7? Well, this is a very interesting one. And actually, for this, let's go and head into the player heat map section. And we've got Salah already in there very nicely. Let's go ahead and grab Cristiano Ronaldo. And so, obviously, it's very hard to compare these two with Ronaldo only playing 1 game, etc. We've not got much to go on. But yeah, we really want to look at their stats per 90, I suggest. Perhaps maybe the way to go. Obviously, a very small sample size with Ronaldo in this case. However, if you look at average statistics per 90, it's kind of what you'd expect, really, with Salah being slightly more creative than Ronaldo. But Ronaldo, with that 1 game beating Newcastle, it is hard to judge. He's facing a West Ham side next, whose defence hasn't been too bad at all, really. Kovacic is a great player, but as a Chelsea supporter, Kovacic isn't nailed on and rarely gets forward to score create. Yeah, he really isn't suited to be an FPL option, especially with that rotation. Saul, Kante, Jorginho, that stacked midfield. I'm sure Tuchel is going to rotate them as he has been doing so far. Lukaku and Ronaldo in 1 team, what do I think about it? I think, it's definitely a viable option, and I think it could probably be the template in a couple of weeks' time when people are planning to take out Ronaldo for Lukaku in game week 7, and they realise they don't want to get rid of Ronaldo, and so they're going to have to try and squeeze in Lukaku, Ronaldo, Salah and Trent, unless you want to sacrifice one of them. Thoughts on the United game yesterday, Eddie? I know it's not relevant, but as a United fan, I would like to hear your opinion. No worries, Jack. I'll leave my quick opinion on it. I thought it was just a poor game example. It was a good example of poor game management from Ollie, and where we really don't have many B plans as Manchester United. And I think it's just an example of poor coaching, poor preparation, and poor in-game management that we've seen as Ollie display over quite a while, to be honest. But yeah, I'm not too worried. It's not suppose it doesn't strike confidence in me, and the fact that when we're on the pitch and our first plan doesn't go to plan, plan B is always really never pays off, even against a team such as the team we played yesterday, who aren't a strong side. Do you think Livramento is worth bringing in now with their upcoming fixtures? And it's a very interesting point from Tom, and again he raises a very, very good question. If we come to the fixture analyzer, defensive difficulty is something to obviously consider very strongly when you bring in a defender. Who would have thought? And if we look down here, you can see, hopefully you can see, that Southampton are bang in almost in the relegation zone, if you consider it like this. So yeah, actually, we're not even looking at the right fixtures. 5 to 10. So sorry about that. So actually, hang on. If you consider outside of the next 3, perhaps Leeds, Burnley, Watford aren't too bad. But I suppose if we look at 5 to 7, Southampton are, well, they're not that far down. They're not that far down. I'm surprised, to be honest, that Man City and Chelsea, Wolves being slightly better with Fix's stats predictions perhaps lends them to be a bit higher up the table. But if Wolves have found their footing by then, I wouldn't be too confident of a clean sheet in any of these games. I think with Livramento, the decision really is whether you need to start him. The likes of Brandon Williams, some people are even considering bringing him in. Norwich are up here in 3rd over the next 3 game weeks. And so Brandon Williams at 0.1 cheaper as well, perhaps could be that one to bring in if you're willing to take a punt on a defence who haven't been very strong at all this season so far. DCL to Jimenez or Bamford? Don't want to let DCL drop in price. Not sure if I can wait for the pre-match press conference. I think Calvert-Lewin will probably almost certainly be out. The problem is with bringing in Bamford is also that there's been rumours of injury to him. So I would try and go with the price and perhaps handle the drop if necessary, just to make sure that, for 1, DCL is for sure injured, and for 2, Bamford definitely isn't injured, because he's my favourite option out of Bamford and Jimenez. If you had to do a -8 to have a good team, would you wildcard instead or go with the -8? I'm not opposed to a -8. It has to be quite a good -8 for me to take it. My rule with wildcarding is really I will only wildcard if there's 6. That tends to be my benchmark changes or more that I want to make in one specific game week. How about Lukaku as a captain shout versus Spurs, who look awful? Well, they've not looked too bad so far this season. They had obviously a very shocking display against Crystal Palace, but it depends how they can bounce back from that. Lukaku is a man who will definitely take any chance that's put on a plate to him, and with Reece James back, could provide some great creativity and definitely cause a bit more havoc to that Spurs back line. I think it's definitely a differential shout. I'm not sure a lot of people will be captaining him. With Salah facing Crystal Palace at home, and even Ronaldo away at West Ham, even Trent perhaps as a captaincy option, I wouldn't be going with Lukaku this week personally. Could you compare Bamford and Jimenez so we know who to replace DCL with? Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Player heat maps. One of my favourite pages. Right, let's get Jimenez. It's just so quick and easy. That's what I like so much about this, is that I can sort it just so fast. Right, so we can compare Bamford and Jimenez as they've both played the first 4 game weeks. In terms of minutes, Bamford has played a few less, and the bonus point system, Bamford has had a lot more. But yeah, if we look at the heat maps, Ross compared these earlier in that video, and yeah, they're very similar. They're very neck and neck in a lot of areas. Shots-wise, we can look at the positionings of their shots. Bamford obviously took this very long-range effort against Liverpool that we remember, but very similar. All in and just outside the box, or mostly in the box. In Bamford's case, all but 1 inside the box. In terms of passes, we're not too concerned about that, but Jimenez is a lot more involved in the play, if you consider that, with his passes all over the pitch, really, and more. Well, obviously, there's more of them to it. In terms of attempted assists, Jimenez leads the way quite substantially, and we've known that from people who've done a lot of research have been looking at this particularly. Jimenez has been trying his best to set up other players in that Wolves side, so 6 times more attempted assists than Bamford. So it's very interesting to consider there. Perhaps assist potential for Jimenez is much higher, which we can check out with Opta stats if we want to, and look out for expected assists, etc. Average position, not too much to consider. Both very, very similar. Obviously, Leeds playing on the back foot a lot more. Otherwise, I'd expect Bamford's to be higher up the pitch. touches. Again, not much to split them here, and then the rest of that is defensive work. If we go ahead and look at their attacking statistics, we can look at their total statistics, and more importantly, what I like to use is the average statistics per 90, especially when we're comparing players who are on the pitch for very similar amounts of time. Goals, obviously, Jimenez is for yet to score yet. Bamford has got the one. Expected goals, Bamford does lead the way, but Jimenez isn't down. He is underperforming his expected goals, which is impossible not to do, really. In terms of shots, Jimenez leads the way and expect an average shots per 90. Shots on target, Bamford's leading the way, so Bamford being more clinical, and shots in the box, it's Jimenez who leads the way in that. Goal assists, Bamford leads the way, so it's very, very tough. It's very, very neck and neck between these two. Obviously, the fixtures are very nice for both teams, and yeah, that hopefully provides you with a bit of insight into who's the better option to go for. Obviously, it's very much down to your decision as well. They're almost too hard to split and say for sure who the better option is. But thank you for sending that question in, Tom. Very spot on with the United analysis then. Ollie doesn't really have a plan B. Thank you, Zodiac. Yeah, I mean, it's quite obvious, isn't it? But I think a lot of Man United fans have seen that for a while, that Ollie really has very poor in-game management in terms of just the average Premier League manager, to be honest. So you'd go for the -8 if you got a good team after that. Thanks for your replies. I really appreciate it. No worries at all, Zodiac. Yes, that's my opinion. I would go for the -8. Hello, love the show. Thank you very much. My question is, I have Dallas. Is it worth it to -4 to get rid of, or is he a good option in the middle this week? Ooh, Dallas. That's a name I've not heard in a long time. Dallas has really been considered a casual option so far this season. I mean, if we look at Dallas, he's playing very much that left back spot. Obviously, ignore Jimenez's map for the moment. He's had 1 shot, 3 attempted assists. He's not getting forward a lot at all. Personally, with a lot of issues, it does depend on the rest of your team. With a lot of issues such as DCL, Antonio, Benrahma, Tony, that people are trying to address this week, Stuart Dallas perhaps wouldn't be my first player and my first thought to get out, especially with a Newcastle fixture. However, long term, I definitely don't think he's a very good pick at all, and I would probably wouldn't have had him from the start. But I also would be in quite a rush to get him out really as soon as possible when you have the transfers. Thomas, do you know who has the players that are most transferred in and out so far this game week? And yes, that leads me on to the price change transfer stats. So we can have a look at these as well, and just look at that, a lovely amount of information. And Antonio is the most transferred out player this week, no surprise there, with over 1 million transfers out for him so far, especially with United up next. But yeah, he will be missing that game, so it's relevant to us. But some people will be logging in and seeing, he's playing United as well, so I'm going to get rid of him. In terms of transfers in, look, a lot of people bringing in Cristiano Ronaldo, no surprise about that, after his 2 goals against Newcastle. Lukaku in second, Demarai Gray, who's already risen once in price, and Pogba still getting quite a lot of transfers in, along with Marcel, who obviously has gone up to 4.6 already too. Well, amongst the fallers, of course, amongst the potential fallers and transfers out, Fernandes being the sacrifice to fund Ronaldo in a lot of cases by the look of it. And we can actually look directly at this. In terms of direct transfers, we can see that Kane's being moved to Ronaldo a lot. Antonio to Ronaldo is being funded. Antonio to Bamford again being a popular move. Interestingly, no, it's Antonio to Jimenez, but Antonio to Lukaku, again, another interesting one. And some people sacrificing Dyer, it seems, to getting Marcel. And a lot of people downgrading Fernandes to Rafinha, which would seem to be able to fund one of those moves. So yeah, I really like these maps. You can drag them about, use all that stuff, and the transfer combinations, there you go. Antonio to Ronaldo, 6.1% of all transfer combinations across FPL. What about Juan, the new Wolves signing? Sam, I'm personally not sold until, I don't think he's going to be a starter. If he can earn his way into that starting 11, then that's when he becomes an option for me. I do really rate him as a player. Obviously, a lot of people just know him from FIFA, but I did do a bit of looking, and I'm hoping he can have a good season, because I do think he's a good player. Do you think James is a sure starter for Chelsea? I'm not sure there's many people who are nailed on right now for Chelsea. Mendy, Rudiger, and Lukaku, the only ones perhaps who can't be rotated, or maybe. With James, obviously, Azpilicueta rather, is there, and so he can always play in that position. But I think I'll personally be giving it a few weeks, or have game week 5 and 6 to see before I consider bringing him in for game week 7 anyway. But if I was on a wild card now, I'd probably take the risk and go with James because I do rate him that much. If we're planning to wild card in game week 8, would Jimenez be a better option than Bamford to replace DCL in the short frame? Well, yeah, I think personally Jimenez's fixture are slightly better in the short run, but I still think that I would go for Bamford. I still think Bamford, is the better option, and I think he will grab most of the points from that Leeds attack. Obviously, again, it's very close to call, and I'm not going to put my hands up and say, I'm not going to try and claim that I'm 100% going to be right. Bamford is definitely better than Jimenez. Jimenez could outscore Bamford easily. Looking for a Chelsea defender for game week 7 and can only afford Christensen. Is he nailed in your opinion? No, definitely not. I think Christensen will for sure be rotated. Thiago Silva's there and is the most other prime candidate to be rotated with him, really. I think Rudiger's the only real nailed centre-back, as you consider Azpilicueta, of course. Azpilicueta is just too highly priced at 6 million for me. But again, he did assist Lukaku yesterday in the Champions League. Best midfielder attacker on a wildcard for 8 million or less. I already have Greenwood, Bamford, Gray, and Greenwood, Bamford, Rafinha, and Gray. I read that in the wrong order, but yeah, I would personally go for Diogo Jota, despite the fact that he's living on borrowed time. By that I mean that Firmino will be returning from injury in the next couple of weeks. Silva can play Christensen role? Yeah, exactly, Jack. Good evening. What package are you currently using to get these stats on Fantasy Football Fix? This is the premium package. Quite a lot of the features are free as well, so you can get quite a lot of them for free. But to access absolutely everything, including the Elite 11 team reveals, which is one of my newest favourite features this season, it's interesting to see how many of these elite players are playing their wildcards, etc., and what weeks. Yeah, it's very interesting to see, and there's so much more that it has to offer that we can only just scratch the surface of in these live streams, really. Is Lukaku rising? I'm pretty sure he's not. Well, not tonight or tomorrow anyway. Let me just have a look and double check for you and give me perhaps a rough estimate of when he maybe could rise. Obviously, he is very highly brought in this week. He's already risen to 11.6, so he is going up quite a bit. I'm not sure he'll rise before the deadline. No, I don't think he'll make that, but you never know. You never know. If it speeds up, he maybe could, but personally, I don't think he will. And I think you could be quite confident in that. Is there a 4.5 to 5.5 forward you go for to make room for Lukaku and Ronaldo? I think Dennis would be the only one in that price range that I'd consider. However, there is questions about his consistency and really about Watford as a whole. Can they go forward and be a strong team? And if so, is Dennis up there with Sarr as one of the best Watford assets? But yeah, I think Dennis is my favourite in that price point. There's a potential for you can fit in an Antonio or someone like a Jimenez or Bamford alongside Lukaku and Ronaldo, and maybe even still squeeze in Salah and Trent. It just means less balance throughout the total team, really. Best captain for the upcoming game week is between Salah and Ronaldo for me. I think the safe call is just to go with Salah at home to Crystal Palace. Alonso is mind-boggling. Once you get him that Chilwell will be in. Yeah, I think that's exactly why I never really considered going for him. Who do you think will do better out of Gray and Gallagher? I personally think Gray will. I think Gallagher's a better suited FPL asset, and I think if Palace fixtures were better, maybe just if Palace were better, Gallagher would be the better option, but I think Gray's fixtures just give him the edge for me. Best City attacker this game week to get? Jesus, Torres, Mahrez, others? Or getting a City attacker at all, as we know, is really a death sentence, and you're playing into that Pep roulette, you're whipping out the roulette wheel and having a go. Personally, out of all of them, Jesus as a striker, playing on the right wing, it just doesn't sit right with me going for him, especially at 8.6 million, I think he is at the moment. Torres really is the one. I have him in my team. He's pretty budget pick as well in terms of a midfielder playing as a striker. We never really get as cheap as he is. And so I'd probably go for him again with KDB and Foden returning imminently, or in the next couple of weeks. Could he be living on borrowed time? Could the Champions League cause rotation? But as far as I'm concerned, I don't really see anyone else playing up there. Obviously, Torres does get subbed off early quite a bit, so limited minutes, as is to consider with any City attacker, really is something that's worth keeping an eye on there, Sam. But yeah, I've loved answering all your questions. Thank you everyone who's tuning in. If you do appreciate it, don't feel shy to smash a like on the stream. We always try and hit 50 likes as we did yesterday. I'm absolutely sure we can do it. 85 of you watching. Would really massively appreciate it if you could go down and just smash a thumbs up on the video. And of course, if you're new around here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Will the return of KDB affect Jesus? Move him more centrally maybe, or Torres move him out the team or less effective? So yeah, I'm not going to pretend to know lots about the Man City scenario and what will happen with Foden, what will happen with KDB. I think KDB affects the front line a little bit less than Foden. With Foden coming in, I think, again, it's very hard to judge. I don't think Jesus will end up playing a lot of minutes up front this season. I personally think that they'll either go with Torres or play a false 9, perhaps De Bruyne, or maybe even Sterling for a few games. But I think Torres is probably, one of the safest. He's been getting a lot of praise from Pep. And if I had to put money on it, I do think Torres is the best FPL option there. And I wouldn't really be going elsewhere in the Man City team other than him. I think Torres himself is just enough of a risk. Is Tony close to dropping? What would you sell him for Armstrong? Tony is close to dropping. He'll most likely drop tonight. As you can see, past the 100% threshold at 101.9% towards a drop. Would I sell him for Adam Armstrong? It's a very hard thing to say. I've got Tony myself, and luckily I'm blessed with I've got 1.7 million in the bank, so I can afford to upgrade him. In terms of would I go for Adam Armstrong, I do think he's looked really good. Let's have a look at their upcoming fixtures. Obviously with Man City, he's a player you need to bench. So this week, I don't think is the week to bring in Adam Armstrong. In the future, maybe around game week 8, he's facing some pretty poor defences after that. But even so, the projected points from Fix don't make for great reading when it comes to Adam Armstrong. Get the sun out me face a bit there. There we go. That didn't just mess up me green screen. Why anyone not go for Dele Alli rather than Son, only for great fixtures? I think Dele Alli really is, his underlying stats just really show that he's not a player that is going to be a viable FPL asset this season. Obviously, when he was potentially on penalties with Kane going, you might have said differently. But personally, especially with the fixtures, I just don't think he is going to be a viable option. No, my eyes are firmly off Dele Alli. What would you change about this wildcard? I'll have a quick read of it. I like it. It's a very nice example of a 3-5-2 draft. Perhaps I'd consider maybe switching to a 4-3-3, getting maybe even Martial in there and tripling up on the Wolves. But I do like all those options. Maybe downgrading Greenwood and getting in a third striker, because when those players like Calvert-Lewin, Antonio will come back inevitably next week. You maybe even want to add Lukaku to that front line without sacrificing another one. It's going to be very difficult to upgrade a 4.5 striker. Tony's causing me grief because I have DCL and Antonio. Silly fool, should have been binned. Should have been left to go. Yeah. But scared every night Tony will drop. Yeah, keeping me up at night as well. It's impossible. I've gave up. I wildcarded to bring in DCL last game week, and he's injured the same game week. And all such an L. Yeah, a lot of people, unfortunately, even in my wildcard drafts that I did, I had Antonio and DCL, and the majority of them, I'm not afraid to admit it, I think they were great. They're great. They're still great picks, and it's just unfortunate that one of them's got a red card and one of them's unfortunately got injured. Do Wolves have the best defensive fixtures? Asked Tom. Well, we'll go and have a look at the fixture analyzer. And it depends what range you want to go over, but I tend to look at the next 5. Defensive difficulty in terms of fixtures. Let's have a look. It is Leeds. So yeah, I was surprised when I looked at this yesterday as well, but Wolves really aren't. No, where are they? Top 10? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Are they in 10th? Are they in 10th? With Brentford, Southampton, Newcastle, Aston Villa, Leeds and Everton. So Aston Villa, Leeds and Everton, I'd say, are perhaps tougher ones. But if I just look at the next 3, maybe. Who then comes up? Wolves come up into 4th then, with Brentford obviously being quite a strong chance of a clean sheet. Southampton there and Newcastle there. I think just Burnley facing Norwich puts them up at the top, really. And then again, Everton get quite high with Norwich as well. But yeah, it's interesting to see that they're not too high, but especially across those next 3, I think they're a very good chance of a clean sheet, in my opinion. Is Bamford the best Antonio replacement? Will Antonio drop before the deadline? Last time I checked yesterday, and I think I might have checked today, I can't remember. I don't think Antonio is near to another drop. No, it doesn't look too likely right now. But depending on his progress per hour, whether that changes, it could change. I'm not going to give you any false hope. How about heard the sound clip from Bamford on his TikTok, his worried face and touching his hamstring after the DCL drama? I'm staying clear. Perhaps that might be a wise thing to do. Hopefully we'll get something out of Bielsa and his translator during the press conferences, maybe. Porting Christensen on a wildcard, twist or stick? I personally twist if you can afford to and you don't have any other issues to deal with this week. Team value versus immediate points. DCL Antonio. I don't know what you mean by that. Are you asking me something or are you just making a statement? But yeah. Team value versus immediate points is obviously a topic of debate. Always try to get both, really, but I often will sacrifice a 0.1 price drop in order to play it safe and make sure someone's fit, or play it safe and make sure that I want to take someone out or that they don't get injured before the deadline in a midweek game, etc. So yeah, I don't obsess about the team value that much. Hopefully a price increase on Semedo can calm my Tony anxiety. Well, let's have a look at Semedo for you on that topic. Obviously, not really anywhere close to it. 0.3% per hour progress, and obviously he's sat at less than 30% at the moment, so I wouldn't be too confident of a Semedo price rise anytime soon. In fact, I'd be confident that he's not going to rise for this game week at least. It will be almost certain this game week, but next game week, you might be in luck if he can actually start getting some returns, really. I think the bulk of players won't be transferring in Semedo in terms of casual because they can't see his underlying stats. Perhaps they didn't even watch the Wolves game. They don't know how well he's been playing, and all they see is his points total, which is obviously worse than Marcel's and a lot of other defenders. Bamford or Jimenez? It's Bamford for me. I've discussed the reasons why. Yeah, and I'd have him as an 8 million striker on a wildcard or under. Are there any fixture swings you would target with a wildcard? Chelsea for one. But we'll have a look. I assume you maybe mean in terms of this week, from game week 5 onwards. But yeah, let's have a look. In terms of attacking fixtures, I'd go with Leeds and Wolves. They both look very good. So maybe you can maybe grab a Jimenez and a Bamford, or maybe go a double up with Bamford and Rafinha. Watford's an interesting one with Liverpool in there. I wouldn't be expecting them to be so high, but maybe you could grab Ismaila Sarr, again, who's got a good fixture. Chelsea, interestingly, up there, even with Tottenham and Man City up next over the next 6 game weeks this is in total. So I'd probably be grabbing Lukaku if you didn't have him. 100 viewing and only 36 likes, guys. We can absolutely smash that target of 50. I don't know what we're playing around at. Come on, guys. You can smash that like button down below. It only takes half a second, and it's absolutely completely free as well, obviously. Is Diaz the best City defensive asset? I'd say as long as Cancelo's starting, he's the best one. That's been my opinion since the start of the season, really. I know Diaz has come through and grabbed some attacking points as well. So personally, I still will stick with Cancelo, but Diaz, obviously being more nailed, will probably be the one that most people go for. How important do you think team value is? I'm thinking about early transfers versus staying calm. I tend to stay calm. Obviously, sometimes taking a risk can pay off. I don't tend to take the risks that often, and to be honest, I've learned to kind of go along with it, take it as it comes. If a player rises, so be it. If a player drops, so be it. Unless it's in extreme circumstances where I maybe 0.1 off moves, and then maybe I will take the risk. But generally, I find it's not worth the hassle and stress. What do you think about Pukki as an option over the next 4 game weeks? Well, if we look at the next 4 game weeks in terms of fixtures for you. can have a look at that. In terms of attacking fixtures, Norwich are up there, so top 5. Watford, Everton, Burnley and Brighton they face. I say Brighton are quite a tough defence to face, but yeah, Burnley and Watford especially have looked pretty poor. Would I go for Pookie? Probably wouldn't. You know, I think even Dennis with some slightly better fixtures is probably the one I'd go for if I had to go with a striker in that kind of 5 million budget range. What premiums does the Algo predict the most over the next 5 game weeks? That's Tom. Let's have a look. Predicted points and stats. We can come into here on Fantasy Football Fix very easily on the website. And then we can filter by game week range as it's already carried over from last time, which is very, very nice. And there we go. This is the next, well, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I suppose that's the next 6 game weeks. So let's just, for sake of argument, make it 5. Whether that changes anything, who knows. But yeah, Ronaldo leads the way with 33. Salah in second with 29, and Salah, noticeably, and Mane up with 6.6 in that home fixture for Crystal Palace in game week 5. So if that settles your captaincy argument, maybe you want to go for Salah with that home fixture. Lukaku in third, Mane in fourth, and Fernandes in fifth. So yeah, Mane obviously someone who's back to goal last week, but has really underperformed his statistics, especially in their last game. Fernandes is the one who's being sacrificed a lot by owners. You know, who knows whether he can still continue to return. I'm sure he will be ticking over the points, but it's mainly just as the only option to get Ronaldo in, as you know, a United double up with that much value in it really isn't sustainable, and people don't tend to have that much value. You know, for 24.5 million invested in 2 players from one team, you know, nearly a quarter of your budget seems quite excessive. Alexander-Arnold in 6th, so just outside the top 5. And then it's Jota, who, once again, it just shows how much great value he is. 7.7 in at 24.8. Kane's down there as well. Vardy as well. So, yeah, some of those guys who are being written off by a lot of people are still up there. Still up there. It's interesting, Mendy's down there. What is that, about 10th place? With 23.7 points. So, yeah, I was thinking about that in Game Week 7. Maybe a premium goalkeeper could be worth the go. Jimenez to shine in Game Week 5. Maybe this could be the week. Maybe this could be his week. Will Ronaldo rise tonight? Sorry if this question was already answered. I just tuned in. No worries, Laser. Thank you for tuning in. And yeah, I appreciate we've just had a few more likes on the video. So thank you to everyone who's just dropped a thumbs up. Massive. We're now only 8 off our target of 50 likes, which would be amazing. So if you could keep smashing a like button, everyone who's tuning in new, that would be fantastic. What was I about to do? Apologies. Ronaldo, price rise. Price change predictor. I do have him in the watch list. Ronaldo is here tomorrow. Tomorrow he's set to rise 2.1% per hour, obviously making him quite close up to that 12.6 mark. He should rise tomorrow, but no danger really of it happening tonight at all unless something very drastic changes. So yeah, I could say with quite certain certainty he won't rise tonight. He may rise tomorrow, and obviously rising tomorrow is the last possible time that players can rise before Game Week 5, as the deadline is on Friday this week. Rage wildcard after all the forwards, red and bad bench, top 200k, hitting the immediate fixture swings with the road to Chelsea and Man City. Sounds like a good idea. 2 of my favourite teams to target on a wildcard now or over the next few game weeks. Pathetis play on the wing now as a striker, King play as a striker. A very good point. I still do like Dennis as an option, but yeah, you're right. Watford have a lot of other forwards, and it's no surprise that quite a few of them are getting some game time as well, King being the main one. No transfers this week. Sissoko will do for Antonio. Yeah, I'm happy you've got Sissoko in. I think he's the best 4.5 midfield option. And against Norwich, is it this week? I definitely wouldn't feel too bad having to start him. DCL, hold or sell? He's a sell for me this week, unless Benitez comes out in the press conferences and says, oh, I was just lying, he's back this week. But I'm not sure he would say that, even if it was the truth. Defensive difficulty? You want to have a look at those fixtures? I think we just had a look, but I will give a refresher on the defensive difficulty over the next couple of game weeks or so. Leeds for the best ones. Everton in second, but you know they've looked pretty shaky at the back. Doesn't matter who they're facing. Southampton, Burnley, Norwich aren't really defenses we're considering, but if you're looking for some budget options, perhaps Brandon Williams is the way. And then Chelsea, who of course a lot of people will be focusing on, especially from this game week 7 point onwards, where they face Southampton, Brentford, Norwich, and Newcastle. So Reece James, Rudiger, Mendy, perhaps even in goal. These are the players to go for, in my opinion. So DCL is dropping tonight. I just tuned in, says Champion. Well, once again, mate, thank you for tuning in. And yes, DCL is predicted to drop in price tonight. As you can see, he's past the 100% threshold at 103.5%, set to drop in price tonight, dropping at 0.7% per hour. Best differential captain for Game Week 5? As we mentioned, Lukaku as a captaincy option perhaps could be what you supposedly call a differential. I personally wouldn't go for a differential this week. I think Salah is just the safe option, and if you're going away from Salah, anything else really in itself is a differential. Maybe even going for Ronaldo could be called the differential captain this week. Sell Benrahma? I think it depends what your priority is. If you've got other players that you need just to get rid of or change just to field an 11, then Benrahma's obviously not top of your priorities, but if you can afford to bring him out this week, I probably would. 8.9k overall rank. What's your rank, buddy? My rank's not brilliant. It's 70,000, I think. But yeah, you're absolutely smashing it, Zodiac, by the sounds of things. So congratulations on that amazing rank. Will Amati play, do you think? No. I gave up. Who should I start over Antonio, Duffy, or Sissoko? I'd probably take a risk and go Sissoko maybe this week. Expected points, Rudiger, James, Diaz. You'd like to have a look at that? No worries. Let's go and have a look. So, to filter this, let's go ahead and actually, if we look at maximum price of defenders being 6 million and position defenders. So there we go. Diaz over the next 6 game weeks is top. Rudiger in 3rd. Cancelo in 4th. Where is Reece James? Reece James is down here. Wow. So quite far off. So in order, Diaz is ranked 1st with Rudiger in 2nd out of your 3 and James all the way down in 3rd. But yeah, I really do fancy James as an option, so I'm surprised a bit by that. There's obviously a very small sample size of what he's done so far this season. Is Kovacic worth considering? Not for me. It's not even worth explaining, to be honest. I have explained it quite a bit. Rotation and just his position as a player doesn't make him ideal for FPL, but you never know. He might prove us all wrong. Salah stats against Crystal Palace is average. Yeah, I guess if that's something you consider against teams, bogey teams, they somehow do exist, and maybe that's something to consider. Who should I sell for Bamford, Antonio or Tony? I'd sell Tony and bench Antonio. That's what I'll be doing, most likely. Do you think Benrahma will drop in price before the deadline? That's Tom. Well, if we have a look over here, Benrahma, no, I don't think there's any chance really. He's nowhere near. We did check this yesterday, I believe, but yeah, it's good to give people a quick refresher and a visual cue. Yeah, he's got no chance really, only dropping at 0.4% per hour, and he's not even in the negative progress yet, so no chance, I'd say, of that. Absolutely zero. Bamford or Jimenez? Leaning towards Bamford. We did a bit of a quick comparison. My opinion is Bamford, but again, it's very close to call. Go and check out FPL Raptors video on this channel just earlier today. That is a fantastic comparison of the two and some other forward options to be considering bringing in for the likes of Antonio and Calvert-Lewin. Captain Lukaku, Jota or Bruno? Ooh, very tough to say. Very tough to say. You could take a punt and go with Jota this week. That might be a differential captain that I didn't really consider. But yeah, I think Lukaku's a pretty safe one to go with even against Spurs. Should I start Amati or Brownhill this game week? Yeah, you could play Amati just on the off chance he starts. Even so, Brownhill then comes on as a sub. But really, you don't want to be playing any of them. No shame in 70k. I'm there as well. I don't think it's too bad of a rank. I'm not disappointed. And, there's a lot of better FPL players that are a lot lower down than me right now. But, I wouldn't be that confident of maintaining 70k. Best Leicester defence to get? The best Leicester defenders. Interesting statistics. I'm not sure why are people jumping on the Leicester defence. That would be an interesting one to consider. I mean, who have they got? They've got Brighton up next, haven't they? So I suppose that might be a reason. I did see a few people considering even the likes of going with Harvey Barnes this week. In terms of the Leicester lineup, it'll be Sancho and Vestergaard. So I'm not sure who else will play. Bertrand maybe could be the one to go for, but even so, I think they're just a bit out of budget. When Marcel and Semedo were there, I wouldn't be going for a Leicester defender. Simicast for Semedo for a -4 or play Livramento. I'd be tempted to take the -4 there, Rumen. And yeah, I will be timing you out for that, mate. It's just not very nice when you spread messages like that. I'm literally reading every comment. So yeah, especially with the cursing. Take a -4 to Benrahma for Rafinha. I've been asked that question quite a bit later, but yeah, I do think that might be worth it this week. And again, depends on how long your perspective in keeping Rafinha for. Obviously, that will pay off in quite a few game weeks, as the Leeds fixtures are very nice for quite the foreseeable future, in my opinion. Should I go Bamford for Antonio for a -4 this game week? I'm not personally sold it will be worth the -4 with Antonio back with some pretty nice fixtures, next week. I'm not sold. I don't understand the needs for Leeds players at this point. Good fixtures or not, many options. There's no need, but a lot of people are trying to jump on the bandwagons early, so to speak, at Manga. That wasn't Manga, it was Umulius. Apologies. Opinions on saving up free transfers to bring in Lukaku and James for Shaw and Ronaldo in game week 7. I like the idea of that. If you're a fan of hopping on the fixture swings, Shaw and Ronaldo may prove to be a brilliant combination in the Prem by that point. Shaw may be sticking cross after cross on Ronaldo's head, and it may be ending up in the back of the net all the time. So yeah, I'm definitely a fan of saving up the free transfers, but yeah, I may well decide that you want all 4 of them by game week 7. All right. I don't want to sell Antonio. That's why I start Brownhill. Yeah, I suppose. You're hoping for 2 points, really, is the most you can hope for, really, with Brownhill, but it may be worth it. Keep Antonio, sell Benrahma. I do probably agree that selling Benrahma ahead of Antonio is the best thing to do. Sorry, I'm late today, but Raptor, no worries at all, mate. Good evening to you as well. But yeah, we will be rounding it off soon, as I know everyone needs to get off, and, well, we've got the football on in an hour. Lineups will be out soon. But yeah, the time's absolutely flown by today. If you do appreciate me streaming for over 50 minutes now, and it will be over an hour by the time we end, I'm sure, then I would appreciate a like on the video. It's absolutely free and does help out the channel all a lot, and it does help the guys here who have really been very nice to me and help support my content and grow me as a creator as well. So I hope I'm doing an okay job. Selling Tony, I have 7.3 million in the bank, so I'm considering to go for Watkins. His stats against Chelsea were pretty good. Considering going for Watkins is a weird one. We've not seen any talk really of him. He wasn't even in the FPL Raptor video today. I think many people have just written him off. I think even with people who have Danny Ings right now are just more tempted to hold Ings than if you go for a Villa forward, surely Ings is the way to go. I appreciate you've got 7.3 in the bank. Obviously, that is just off Jimenez, isn't it? Which is a frustrating thing. But I'd probably be looking at options such as St. Maximan, Armstrong, maybe even Pookie or Dennis. Go and check out FPL Raptors video, is my opinion on that, Arsene. If I wildcarded in 7, other than Chelsea, who's got good fixtures? Very good point. A very good question. Another very good question raised by Tom. Let's go have a look. 7 up until around... Let's have a look until game week 12, maybe, or 11. Attacking fixtures, no surprise. Chelsea in first place. Leeds are still up there, obviously, with their nice fixture run being quite long-term. Southampton are there, so Adam Armstrong, maybe one to consider if you're going for someone long-term. Arsenal are there, who, we're not really considering much at the moment, but, Tierney, Saka, Pepe, Aubameyang maybe become options by that point. And then Wolves, so, Jimenez will still be up there in the mix, I'm sure. Other than that, some teams with poor attacking fixtures, Man United. So, yeah, whoever was saying Shaw and Ronaldo out, maybe valid point. But yeah, hopefully that helps. Expected points for midfielders, 7.7 or less. Let's go and have a look for you. It'll be 5 to 10. Let's go midfielders. I think the most we'll be able to do for you, unfortunately, is under 8 million. But I will just obviously say 7.7 million or less. Obviously, Jota leads the way. Torres in second, not that far off actually. Grealish and then Gundogan in third and fourth, with Ismail Sarr rounding off the top 5. So interesting that Greenwood isn't in the top 5. But yeah, luckily there aren't many midfielders over 7.7 who are actually good options. But yeah, Grealish obviously you can't afford. So personally, I'd go for Jota or Torres if you don't know either one. I have Allen as a 5th mid. I like it. Good option. Tony out for Pookie or St. Maximan? Again, I would go and watch the FPL Raptor video. It goes much more in-depth than I can attempt to do here live on stream. Should I sell Tony for Bamford? Or if I do, I will have an almost nothing. Do you mean in the bank? Because I will be selling Tony for Bamford, even if it means taking up all the money, to be honest. DCL Bamford for a -4 is potentially going to be worth it, I think. You're doing very well, dude. Thank you very much, Zodiac. Appreciate the love. Traore or Gray? I'd probably go Gray. Traore just seems not to be finishing his dinner. And, you know, it'll be inevitably the week where I stop recommending him, where he explodes, but... yeah. Is DS too expensive to have at the same time as Trent? I don't think so. I think it depends on how well you balance your team. I'd argue if you're trying to get Lukaku, Ronaldo and Salah in, as well as Trent, maybe, depending on formation, with a 4-3-3, it may be doable. But yeah, it really does depend on the rest of your team and if you're trying to squeeze in a lot of other premium assets. Who just start in game week 5 between Sissoko of Watford and Williams of Norwich? So that's a hard one. That's a hard one. That's a very tough one. I'd honestly be tempted to maybe go Williams. But yeah, expected points for goalkeepers. Interesting. So yeah, again, we'll use the same time frame. Mendy, Alisson, and then Melier in third, which is an interesting one at 5 million. And then Sarr, who the other 5 million keeper, just behind. So yeah, out of the 6 millions, Mendy's the only one I'm really considering. Melier and Sarr, I would have preferred Sarr, but the projected points seem to favour Melier in this case. I like that you decide everything on stats. I like to choose some stats as well. What's the name of the Raptor video? I think it's the transfer targets one. It literally came out a couple of hours ago. So if you go onto their channel page, it'll be like the second video along if this one's on the channel page. Love the channel. Keep going. Thank you very much, my guy. Yeah, appreciate that a lot. I have to go watch the Champions League now. Have a great evening, Phillips and everyone else. Thank you, Mr. Best, or whatever you... Maxa Best. I hope that's not like a Kahoot name, but it doesn't sound rude when I read it out. Yeah, thank you for tuning into the stream, as with everyone else. And we are going to be rounding off the stream in about a minute or so. So if you have appreciated and liked the stream, then just do that. Smash a like on the stream. It does really help out the channel. I'm sure we can get to 60 likes very, very quickly. Who are going to be the last few to smash a thumbs up if you appreciate it? I've answered way more than 50 questions, I'm sure, in this time. Bamadele at 3.9. What's your thoughts? Only have him in if you need that 0.1 really. City lineup one to watch. Yeah, it will be. So yeah, I think we'll be tuning off as soon as we see that. It will be interesting to see if Pep's using perhaps more of a Champions League team, and then separately how will that affect the Premier League team. UCL Fantasy League code. I personally have one. It's in my Discord server. If you want to find the Discord server, or actually it's in the link of my latest video, just head over to the FPL Phillips YouTube channel and go into my Game Week 5 team selection video. I think that I've managed to put it in the description of that video, so you can join very easily through there. Thanks for your help, Eddie, says Tom. No worries at all, my guy. Thank you once again for tuning in and you've been in for the full hour. So, yeah, massive props to you. And thank you to everyone else who is watching and has tuned into the stream. Once again, if you're new around here, do consider subscribing. Makes you can get involved in the live chat as well and get all your questions answered too. Thanks to everyone who's liked the stream already. I will stop going on about it. But yeah, if you have appreciated, a thumbs up is hugely appreciated. You can turn on notifications as well so you don't miss these videos as we bring them to you live in stream format. I don't know how long we're going to be doing this for, but interested to hear your feedback if you'd like to leave some feedback. Try to be as constructive as possible. But yeah, we'd like to know, do you prefer the live format videos? If you've seen some of the old ones in the pre-recorded formats, do you prefer those? Let us know down in the comments or in the live chat, whichever you're in right now. But yeah, thank you to everyone who's sending all the love in the chat. There's too much to read it all out, but yeah, I do appreciate you all. Thank you once again for tuning in, and I will catch you all in the next one. See you soon. Goodbye.